Well, hey there, YouTube. Today's video is going to be my smoking cessation victory video, because I finally did it. I have quit smoking. It's been over 2 years since I smoked a cigarette, and it's been over a year since I ingested any nicotine. In that middle time, that year there, I was vaping or using an e-cigarette. So today I wanted to talk about how I quit, how I went about that. I just want to share my story. That's what my YouTube channel, I've got close to 300 videos telling my story and making these YouTube videos as a diary of what's been going on. I think I'm going to have the comments disabled on this because I really don't feel that my path is right for everyone. I understand that we're all very unique people, individuals, and I'm not telling you this is how you should go about it. I'm just sharing my story because I feel like I deserve to be able to talk about it, because how bad of a hook smoker I was, how many times I tried and made it and then failed, and then how I feel about it now. The reason I'm making this video, the reason I feel right to make it, it's not so much because I'm feeling tempted, so I need to make a video to reinforce the fact that I've actually quit. The reason I'm making it is because I feel I actually have done it. I've kicked its ass. I don't miss it. I can be around people that smoke and it doesn't bother me. I can sit there and watch video. I can watch video of myself smoking a cigarette and it doesn't bother me like it used to. But it's nothing like what I had to deal with in those other times when I quit, specifically between 3 months. I always made it like 3 months. And then 9 months was the longest. I think one time I made it a year. When I came up, they didn't have DARE. There weren't people that came into our classrooms and explained concepts like addiction to us. In my time coming up, if you didn't smoke, you weren't cool. It's not like now. Things are a little different, and this isn't an excuse. I have to say this and get this off my chest because, I was young when I had my first cigarette. In the sense, not. You hear these people, I started smoking when I was 6 years old. I was maybe 15. My older brother was 4 years older than me. He had been smoking for, 3 to 6 months, and we were in his car, summer day, with the windows rolled down, cruising on a back road, and he hands me a Marlboro. Later on, when the price went up, when I started, they were $1.25 a pack, and then coming up, I ended up getting one of those, like a crank machine, where you put the tobacco in a little slot, and you hit this lever, and it packs it into these papers you buy. It's a tube with a filter on it, and so that was quite a bit cheaper. I was buying, the cigarette, they passed a tax law, and the cigarettes went skyrocketing. So because I was rolling my own, I hurt my back. I'm in chronic pain all the time. It's horrible. So my wife was rolling them, cranking them out for me, and I got out of control. I was smoking 4 packs a day plus these things. And part of that was, my condition, sitting here. There's a lot of excuses about that, but I knew I had to quit. All the other times I had quit smoking, the same thing had happened. I was around people that smoked. All of my friends smoked. All of my friends smoked cigarettes. And anytime I would quit smoking, I would always find myself in company of smokers, and it would just drive me nuts. So I ended up, all those times where I went through hell, and none of that ever mattered because I would always go back to it. A couple of times I made it a long time, a year, 9 months. And most of the time, around after about 3 months. Sometimes I wouldn't get pissed off. Sometimes I wouldn't be around the smoker at all. It would just be, I would smell it at work, and then, I'd come home. To me, I was working on something. The one time I drilled a hole in my finger on accident, and I was bickering with my wife. I went off and bought a pack. It's just absolutely ridiculous. So why I'm making this video today is not so much so I can pat myself on the back or share it with you. It's just to document what happened. And the reason I'm making it is because I know I'm never going to smoke again. And if I were to, let's say there was a cigar, the guys were smoking cigars on 4th of July, here, have a cigar to light your... I wouldn't even do that. I wouldn't even play around. I'm done with it. I know how powerfully addictive it is, and I was a slave to that for so many years. And I am so happy that I'm free, but it was a lot of work. So I wanted to kind of share some of those points of how I was able to cut myself and finally feel like I was ultimately free from nicotine using an e-cigarette to it. I want to only focus on the time, the most recent one that's been 2 years plus since I smoked, that I feel was successful. And that was using the e-cig. Now, I made a lot of mistakes. I wish I would have known now what I known back then. Because I started out with the wrong stuff. I started out with like a actual looked like a cigarette sold by Marlboro. It's called a Mach 10. I think it was garbage. And then I got like a little bit bigger stuff I was ordering off of eBay. I was getting like a Kanger Pro Tank or Mini Pro Tank, the small stuff that doesn't really produce that much vapor. And I had, my nicotine level was way too high. What I discovered after buying more and more stuff, and like I went to a vape meet and saw kind of all kinds of different things that they had. What worked best for me was not the necessarily cloud chaser where you're making your own coils. I was buy a coil that fit in a device, a tank that held a lot, like a 5 mil to a 7 mil tank. I found these things called an Arctic tank, and that had pre-made coils. Because I bought all kinds of stuff. You know, I don't want to make it sound like I spent a lot of money. I was ordering direct from a company called Fast Tech, and that's from China. You wait 3 weeks plus for the shipping. So this all was like, I wish I would have ordered in advance and not screw around and just spent the money. I was trying to do it really cheap because I'm not working. I hurt my back, basically living off my wife's salary. So thinking, not knowing that I needed one of these, a device that produced quite a bit of a cloud at a lower level of nicotine was what worked for me. So that process of quitting smoking and not having something that a good delivery system made the whole process very closer to a cold turkey withdrawal, where I didn't feel good, I was frustrated, and I was lucky that I hung on and was able to consistently. What held me through was the belief that it wasn't so much the fact that the e-cig route wasn't the best for me. It was that I had the wrong equipment. So all of this time passed, and I can't tell you, like, I wish I would have known, like, okay, if I would have had the devices that I had, which they had a lot of power to them. They were like handheld thing with a couple of batteries in them, or they came with a built-in battery, but they had a big tank. And I was using like between 6 milligram, that's what I started at. Not 9, and then 6, and then down to 3. I tapered. If I would have been able to switch from, that Friday night, smoking my last cigarette, and then Saturday waking up with that device that produced a large amount of vapor, would I have suffered the amount of withdrawal feelings for that week or 3 weeks that I felt using this equipment that didn't really work as well? I don't think so. I think I still would have felt something, because the difference between smoking and vaping, there is a difference. That's why it's easier to get off of vaping. Now, the important things for us to focus on is how I was successful, not so much the failure. So what I would say is, if you're going to plan on quitting smoking using an e-cigarette, don't get anything. If you're a pack a day smoker, even a half a pack, don't screw around and get the little tootie puffer thing. Get a box mod or a battery device that's all in one, and get a tank that is going to give you a good hit. If you go to the vape store and talk to people, depending on who you're talking to, they may want you to go through that experience of buying all the wrong stuff, just because it's going to be more money for them. But if you don't believe me, talk to anybody who's been vaping for more than 6 months, and they'll tell you. You need something that's going to produce a significant amount of vapor. And for me, that was I got hooked on the Arctic tank. And there's plenty of other tanks that by now, I'm sure this is a couple of years later, they probably developed all kinds of stuff that's way better than what I was using. So it's important to have a device that's really going to be able to produce vapor. And for me, like I said, I had a pretty impressive nicotine addiction. So going through this process of spending all this money, starting off with all the wrong stuff and kind of pulling my hair out, and then finally getting the good stuff, well, at this point I'm burning through a lot of e-liquid, and it's expensive stuff. So I researched it, and I started ordering. I ordered from Wizard Labs. I got my nicotine, And then I got flavorings wherever I could get them cheap on sale. And I started making my own e-liquid. I would go to Goodwill and get all kinds of glassware. I ordered from an animal supply, like a veterinary supply. I ordered syringes because that can measure the e-liquid and the flavoring out very precisely. Especially the flavoring, you have to really measure that carefully. So, getting the glassware and stuff used, getting a miniature crock pot for heating the stuff. You run it and heat it to get it to really mix well, to like steep, like you steep tea, to get the flavors to mix and make the e-liquid just taste fantastic, rather than waiting for 3 to 6 weeks to use it. You can kind of speed that process up by, like I said, going to Goodwill, get yourself a little mini crock pot to heat it, because that would really work well to steep them and steep them in the process. Because when you make the e-liquid initially, it doesn't taste quite as good until it's steeped. The color actually changes, it darkens a little bit, and tastes much richer. So that was the process that I used, was a program that I downloaded. All of this stuff, if you look into making your own e-liquid, you're going to run into it. But they had, it was called like You Can Juice It, or e-juice calculator, and a software that you put in the amounts that you are going to be using. Like you give it, like I want to make this X amount, and then it tells you how much of all the ingredients that you need to put in. So all that I found very helpful. Keeping track of the recipes, what I liked, what I didn't like. I had a notebook. It was all kind of like thought process, and we took some time into going into it. But the money that we saved was, there was an initial investment to buy like a gallon of PG and like a liter of VG, and then getting a big bottle of nicotine, 100%, or was 10%, was like the stuff they were saying it's real toxic, because they have different percentages of the nic that you could buy. So kind of being smart, being careful, and I ordered some graduated cylinders, stuff like that. All kinds of different tools that I put together, enabling me to make my own e-liquid. So there wasn't any kind of, it was basically like I had went through that tough time of not having the proper devices, and then it was, okay, you have the devices, but they're tearing through the expensive e-liquid, so taking care of that. So knowing what I would have known, if I could go back in time, I would be smoking, and I would invest in all of that stuff. I would have got just 1 or 2 nice devices with couple of different extra tanks, and then I would have bought all the stuff to make my own e-liquid, and I would have made it all and had all that ready for the day when I quit. And I didn't do that. I went through this period where it was a lot of monkeying around, but that whole time, like, I knew I had set a goal that I was going to vape for 1 year, and I knew that was coming. So I started lowering the amount of nicotine that I would put as I made my e-liquid. And this is how I was able to quit. I went from 9 to 6 to 3 mils. And then from 3 mils, I jumped down to 2, and then 1.5, and then 1, and then, 0.75, 0.5, 0.3, 0.2, 0.1. And then that last, when I was at 0.1 milligram of nicotine, I had some e-liquid here that had no nicotine in it. And I thought, well, I could put that in there and trick myself, or I could just be a man and see what happens if I'm at 0.1 for a month. And I give it up. And I gave it up, that 0.1 e-liquid, and I didn't notice anything. Nothing. So the other thing that was, I'll say, was that taper process. There really was no fall down those stairs where I felt, oh man, I need to, I'm vaping more, I need the nicotine. Like, I didn't really notice it because it was a period of a year. So perhaps looking back at it, not only for getting the vape supplies, having a proper device, number one, and then having enough e-liquid, or not worrying about the money. I mean, a lot of you, maybe it's not going to bother you to spend money on the e-liquid like it bothered me, where I knew I could purchase this stuff and it would be about a third or a quarter of the cost if I made it myself, which it was. So if that doesn't bother you, you don't necessarily have to do it. But again, looking back at how I would have done it, if I would have known, I would have had a timetable. In my case, I set the goal date as a year, and it just kind of worked out. It was like, okay, now I've been going good for a while. This is really good. Everything's working wonderfully, and I really enjoyed it. I love the taste of the e-liquid. It's very addictive. It's so much better than smoking. If you vape and you vape right, you're vaping good e-liquid with a good device, it's so much better than smoking. Which that's the bad part. It is very satisfying and enjoyable. And I love I got into vanilla custard. So this intense sweet vanilla flavors. And I'm not really a sweet tooth guy. But like I said, yeah, that was kind of my story. And I didn't really, like I said, the mistakes that I made were not having enough information, not having good enough gear. But there was no real painful, apart from that first couple of weeks was tough. I felt like something was up, but it was nothing compared to that cold turkey experience, because my body was still getting nicotine. So, I think most people are using much better devices that produce the proper amount of vapor, when they start. So I think most people don't kind of go through that when they switch from smoking to vaping. And I know that a lot of people vape and smoke at the same time, and I think that's where a lot of people, if you're a really strong person, but I don't think that's possible. I think for like 95%, maybe even less, of the people who go down the route of vaping but continue to smoke, that you need to not fuck around at all. You need to pick that day, and that's it. You smoke your last cigarette. No more smoking. And for me, I had this huge monkey on my back. Bad news, nicotine addiction. And so, I vaped a lot. The only thing was I didn't run it. I ran it. I got it down to 3, and then 1.5. I think I took some pretty significant jumps. Like I said, I went 9, 6, 3, and then I think I did. I don't think I did 2. I think I went from 3 to 1.5. I could be wrong. All I know is your body will tell you, and especially if you are making your own e-liquid, you're in control of the amount of nicotine that you put in there. So, like I was talking about in the beginning of this video, there are times where I will see someone smoking, or if I'm around someone who's smoking, you get that little click where it's, that used to be so much of a part of your life. So there is a little bit of a tick there, but it's nothing like it used to be when I had cold turkey quit. There was this hole, this emptiness that just tore me up. I always felt like something wasn't right after I quit smoking, but I don't have that anymore. Since I tapered, I'm fine with it. I really am. Now, I attribute that to that slow tapering over time, and I think that's really the secret. The information is out there. I was on the internet constantly. Like I said, Fast Tech that's where you want to buy your vape hardware, all your battery. The batteries I was getting from different places that were a little bit more affordable. Don't necessarily get stuff off eBay. Go to Fast Tech, and that's where you want to go. And then for your e-liquid supplies, the nicotine, there's a place called Wizard Laboratories, and then they sell flavorings there too. Sometimes you have to look around for the flavorings you want. And the whole making the e-liquid thing is a little bit tricky. You're going to want to make sure that you have some backup store-bought stuff that you like. Finding a flavor that you really like is imperative. When you first start, like when you're a smoker, you may want to visit a couple of vape shops and try it out. Talk to them. If they have a good salesman, they'll ask you, what do you like? Do you like sweet stuff? Do you like breakfast cereals? They'll let you try a couple of different things. Fruit flavors. I mean, basically, for me, I think vanilla custard is the universal. Like, there isn't anybody that wouldn't like that flavor of vape. And really looking back at it, I know if I would have had the proper device, it would have been just a breeze to switch over. There's so much to learn, and if you're making your own e-liquid, that keeping you busy, I mean, that's part of it, is having this exciting new hobby, this experience to go through, taking that bummer effect of I'm not smoking anymore. Like normally when you quit smoking, I'm playing a video game and I reach over to grab my smokes and there's nothing there. Well, having that thing to reach over and grab me, the vape thing, and then kind of going through that whole process and jonesing out on it, making all the liquid, and then kind of getting sick of that whole thing as the nicotine wears off slowly, because I was really kind of ready to put it away. And then you can kind of replace it with, when you're coming off of the low-level nicotine, just do some nice things for yourself. Get a box of cookies, have a couple cookies and a little ice cream at night, take a nice hot bath, reward yourself. Because you're when you get off of the cigarettes and you start vaping, immediately within a month, you're going to have this incredible transformation where your sense of smell is going to come back and food is going to really taste good and everything and all like that. Your throat's going to heal up. It's really worth it. And there's ways to do the whole vape thing where it isn't really a pain in the wallet. Going to a vape shop and paying those guys $60 for something that I could get at Fast Talk for $15 was senseless. Of course, you have to wait 3 weeks to get it shipped from China, but I was willing to do that, and I just kind of planned accordingly. I mean, who am I kidding? I went through that. I was ordering stuff off eBay at first to get the wrong stuff, but at least I had something to vape on while I was waiting. I never really thought it would be at this point. I always thought, well, even if I get cancer, it's going to be like a relief. At least I could maybe smoke a cigarette and not care. Where now I don't miss it. It's like nothing's missing. And that's what's so cool, is not missing it. So